Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Traffic Trade Group, and it is Monday, July 25th. A couple days before we get a lot of big numbers coming out from companies as well as the Fed, which is Wednesday at 2 p.m. and then 2:30 press conference. So, the price action today was kind of a bit quiet for, I'd say half the session. And then things kind of, picked up a little bit at the close, an hour before the close, and then things kind of picked up right at the end of the day. And what was particularly interesting, I thought about today, was the separation amongst sectors. And it kind of felt like today that there were some hiding places in different areas of the market. Remember, over 40% of the NASDAQ, the Qs, the NASDAQ 100 reports this week. So that to me is a lot of information and a small amount of time, and could have some decent market implications depending on what these companies say. So I think I'm not surprised that is one of the weakest was one of the weakest areas of the market. The Qs underperformed today, down 60 basis points. They were one of the ones that that sold off through the session the most, even though they came back at the end of the day. Still down 60 basis points over the session, where the small caps actually outperformed and were up about the opposite for the day. And then we've got some surprises in the after hours where, right, we talked about that we were probably going to get some surprises on companies that, even though they're not scheduled to report earnings this week, they may come out and lower their guidance. And Walmart, for the second time, is coming out and lowering their guidance. It's funny because I had just talked about Walmart in a video. I'm not sure if it was in Friday's end of day video or not, but I was saying that, these these companies, even though this Walmart has kind of come up from, where it bottomed last, this is not this to me, like, I thought that this was a gift, this name kind of coming off the lows from 118, 119 to 130. And, if you manage to kind of position in this, I would assume that you would or should be taking profits in this, because this is not this, I talk a lot about relative strength, right? And this is a company that is, right now just showing a lot of relative weakness, as did Target did. Now, if you look in the after hours market, this is bringing down the whole group, right? So we've now taken out one, two, looks like the other VPOC from back then is probably going to be taken out. I don't know why it hasn't, but that's down at 119, and probably it digests somewhere in there, but it's bringing down everything, right? If you look at Amazon, that is now broken through the value area. Amazon reports later in the week, but again, completely different companies. Who's been managing their inventory, and being forward looking in terms of that. Now, of course, they are dealing with similar customers, right? I think that the lower end customer, unfortunately, is really getting squeezed by has more of an effect, or is getting more affected by, higher gas prices, other higher inflation costs. So, Amazon these companies cater to everybody. But I think Walmart and Target are the underperformers in the group. But also Costco is down after hours. So this is one I am long Costco, and I'm not buying any here in the after hours, but I might look to buy the dip tomorrow, which brings me to kind of like how this day kind of set up for me is just really, being tactical. By the way, there was a ton of Walmart puts today. I put this in the room today too. I mean, look at the amount of weekly puts. So somebody obviously knew something, and that's a pretty big score. They bought the 130 puts for 71 cents. The stock's trading down at down around 120. So they're going to make a boatload of money on that trade. Probably, I didn't see how many total, but just for this order, which was 349,000, they're going to make probably about over $3 million in that trade alone. So clearly, somebody was privy to some information and took a pretty big swing at going short Walmart. Wow. Really, that you don't see that every day, where somebody comes in and does something like that. Just tremendous, because those weekly puts don't cost a lot, right? Different than playing, you know, a tech name in weekly calls or puts. So wow, I could just you know, can't believe the amount that could make somebody's year, basically what's what somebody just did there today. That, and this was at what time? I think this was around like 12 o'clock or something like that. No, this was right before the close. Sorry about that. And I did put this in our in the Tribeca Trade Group trading room as well. So very interesting. I'll move on, but these things are very, very interesting when they happen. Overall, option flow, just in general, is very, very difficult to read. You know, obviously we can tell when something's been aggressively bought or sold, but there is so much option noise right now because there's a lot of hedging that takes a lot of traders use puts for hedging, right, going into earnings. So it's very difficult to get a read on if you know, if somebody is really positioning to be speculative or if they're putting on you know, a hedge. You know, obviously you could tell the degree of the aggressiveness with the implied volatility move and if the order was swept, which those Walmart puts were swept. But all right, let me move on because there's a bunch of other things to talk about. All right, so that is affecting all the retail companies after hours, but there was also some pretty good reports that came out too. Like I said, we're going to get some good reports. We're going to get some bad reports. Cadence is up nicely. They're up to 175. F5 is up to 173 in the after hours, right? And I think that there was another NXPI. I don't think is a big mover. Last I checked, it's actually down a little bit. Whirlpool also reports they're up a little bit, even though they reported not great numbers. I think they actually brought down their guidance, but I don't know. Perhaps it's just a cheap enough company at this point. I think the PE ratio is like a 5 in WHR. All right. So let me get through the so again, those are some of the after hour moves. We're going to continue to see that. I think really in this type of market, it pays to be a bit clever in this market, right? We were talking about this pre-market. And by the way, the risk disclaimer is here. Make sure that you go ahead and read the whole risk disclaimer. But I talked about how, you know, that there might be some hiding places. I was also thinking like big pharma healthcare names. And I actually put down a trade in that area, which didn't really work together because XLV as in Victor, didn't really take off today. But I thought like, hey, everybody's really worried about these, the mega cap tech and consumer discretionary reporting this week. So it made sense to me that we had energy outperform today. You know, obviously that is you know, moves based on what nat gas prices are doing and what crude is doing as well. But it just seemed like the nice, easy trade to kind of position in for the day. And that's what I was looking at. That was one of our watch list ideas that we had from this weekend. Right, which was in here, and you could see I kind of tilted this a little bit. You know, I didn't come in this after this weekend with a big list of a watch list because I wanted to be pretty dynamic and nimble this week. But CVX was a name that I put on here. That was a name that I took. Also, we talked about last weekend Devon Energy in the nat gas space. Right, and this made a nice move today, up almost 3%, which is a decent move for Chevron. Reports at the end of the week. Devon had a nice week. Had a nice day as well, up 5% for this one. Now over the this little pivot here from where we were about a week ago, and of course the coal name super strong again. AMR was up 9%. It gets you right up to the 50-day moving average. Another name in this space is CEIX, which is right back out to new highs. So you got some relative strength going on in this one. Another one that gave a little bit of a cute little check back to the top of value on Friday. This is ARLP, a lower priced one, but nice move back out to here. I didn't see what BTU did today. It's been kind of lagging a little bit out of this group, and it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look, it's not jumping out off the page to me either, but it was up 5% for the day. All right, so very interesting. And then, of course, if you look at what happened in the agriculture space too, right? CF Industries, right, which was up 6.5% today. Just spent a lot of time kind of sitting here, chopping around back and forth. Since this thing kind of came off its highs of about 107. It's been, back and forth, touching the 200-day moving average, bottom of value. I had a lot of traders asking me about this one over the last couple of weeks, and I kind of just said, I don't know yet. I'm kind of waiting for this to break, at least the 20-day moving average, which is in here. And now we're back up to the 50-day moving average, but solid green bar. Mosaic also saw some calls. It's tough too, because these names all report too, just around the corner. I think mostly next week, although Mosaic might be, yeah, no, Mosaic's next week. Mosaic takes back the 200-day moving average. NTR is another one in this group that I haven't traded in a long time. Back to the 200-day moving average, just closes barely inside value, although not my favorite play within the group. A name that I had talked about last week, which I got long today, was SQM, right? Also agriculture, but also lithium, right? So nice move here. I talked about how this took the 50-day moving average. I didn't go after it last week just because, again, I'm being very nimble in here and trying not to add too many positions. But after Friday's price action, right back into here, I thought that it was a decent play, and I capitalized on that. If we go to our trades channel, and so this did very well. I actually left a small piece on, I'm doing more day trading right now, but we've got another day and a half before the Fed is out. So if there's another day of strength, I'll be out of that position. Also WWE, right? I don't know enough about what goes on at WWE. They announced late on Friday that Vince McMahon was leaving, but the chart looked really good, right? This is a position that we got into in here, and it performed pretty well. Like, and if you look at if you look at what it did on Friday, it held up very, very well where growth was selling off. And this thing went all the way up to what, 72, 73. So I was taking my profits, after I had already taken a couple profit targets in this one, and I was out at $71 today. So nice to get that. I call these gifts sometimes when you've got an announcement that's taken very well and had moved higher. Starbucks was a name that I was trying to be nimble in too. This was a name that I looked at last week, right? Broke out of its value area, came back, checking back in. Yeah, this thing could drop a little bit further, maybe down to $80. That's the top of value and 20-day moving average. But I decided to take this trade. I don't know if that's going to be really affected by Walmart. It doesn't actually appear to be, because it looks like it's trading back inside value. This was another name. Again, it's very, very difficult to understand if they're buying calls because they're hedging, or they're hedging a short position, or they're doing something else. But you could see a lot of September 82.5 calls traded today, and the 85 calls also traded today. Again, I don't, being that I don't know what their position is, when I see calls like this on the tape or puts, it just gives me an idea. And then I put the idea into my system, and if it makes sense, if I've got something, then I go ahead and take a trade. But you could see multiple 5-minute VPOCs also taken back. So I would rather, Starbucks is a name that I would rather buy in the dip a little bit, provided that it's, doing what it's doing, right, which is trending a little bit and retesting this little breakout area. And I would ultimately probably target $86 on this. All right, so we'll see what tomorrow brings. Again, I'll say the same word again, just being very nimble in here, right? Because I think that we're going to get more of these types of moves. A name that I would be watching, that I'm watching tomorrow too, which I got long last week in the TTG trend portfolio, is Synopsys, right? On the back of some of these better results that we just saw. I for some reason, I grouped Cadence and Synopsys together. They look very, very similar charts. Cadence is trading, took out this version point of control up, right up to that 173 level. So yeah, I'll be watching Synopsys tomorrow. The level, I have an alert already set. That's right around 340. And then we'll see if maybe this can get up to 346. And then a further upside target would be 352. Last stock that I'll talk about, and we'll go from there, is Tesla. You heard me talk about Tesla, I think, in Friday's video. I'm hoping that this thing backs and fills a little bit further, into the 5-day moving average. It's like 786. I would definitely be, a buyer into that 786 or 790 level, which is the top of value for the week. All right, that's something that I might try as like an option lotto or something like that. Again, ultimately, I think that Tesla could get to 875, but doesn't necessarily have to get there in a straight line. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.